Hello and welcome back to Born to Rant. I'm Brandon. And look, I've got some blind spots in my movie knowledge. We all do. And one thing that I've really been wanting to experiment with since I started this channel is watching and reviewing older movies that I've never seen before that I know I probably should have seen by now. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you can probably tell I have a real affinity for noir styles of filmmaking and that I absolutely love science fiction. Well, one thing that I really love is when those two genres blend together. Like, I think that Rian Johnson's Looper is a perfect example of this, but that's a story for a different video. Because today we are here to talk about a movie that I definitely should have seen by now, a movie that utilized real architecture to create a world that feels retro and futuristic while also feeling completely detached from the world we live in, a movie that asks tough questions about eugenics and a pretty solid little noir murder mystery. That's right, today we are diving deep into 1997's Gattaca, directed by Andrew Niccol and starring Uma Thurman, Ethan Hawke, and Jude Law. We'll take a look at how the movie came to be, what I thought about it on my first watch, and its legacy nearly 30 years later. Now, I really don't know how I never got around to seeing this movie. I was a little young to see it when it first came out, and I'm sure in 1997 I thought it looked like a boring grown-up movie, which, for the record, it is, but that's a good thing. I want more boring grown-up movies, please and thank you. But anyway, I think my intro to hearing about this movie is embarrassingly just knowing it's where Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke first met and started dating. And also this scene from the show The League, where Jason Mantzoukas starts screaming the name of the movie while the characters are all playing paintball.
Gattaca! Did you say Gattaca?
Come and get me! And it is kind of weird that I just didn't get around to seeing Gattaca until now. I mean, I love the movies it's clearly inspired by, like Blade Runner, Vertigo, and The Third Man, but somehow I just never got around to actually sitting down and putting it on. And I have to admit, putting Gattaca on for the first time, I was immediately bought into the world and the story it was setting up. And Ethan Hawke's character just immediately intrigued me. I like that we open on him as Jerome before cutting back and revealing his full backstory. It allowed me to really sit in this world and see where Jerome was at before having the rug more or less pulled out from under me.
I am not Jerome Morrow.
But before we get too deep into everything I liked about Gattaca, I just wanted to take a quick second to remind you that Born to Rant is an independent channel ran completely by me. No AI and no corporate backing. If you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. There's also a link to the Patreon in the description below. Okay, now let's dive into how Gattaca came to be. And the movie really begins with its writer and director, Andrew Niccol, who got his start directing commercials in the UK. And surprisingly, Gattaca wasn't Niccol's first screenplay he wrote. That was actually The Truman Show, which ended up being directed by Peter Weir and was released just a few months after Gattaca. But strangely enough, one of the key players in getting Gattaca made was Danny DeVito, who was really in his producer era throughout the 90s. He'd actually already worked with Ethan Hawke as a producer on Reality Bites and Uma Thurman as the executive producer of Pulp Fiction. So anyway, the script for The Truman Show gets sent to DeVito and his production company, Jersey Films, and he absolutely loved it. The only problem was how expensive the movie was going to be to produce. But DeVito still really wanted to work with Niccol, and that's when the script for Gattaca came along, and on April 22nd, 1996, Gattaca was put into production with a budget of $36 million. As for casting, like I said, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman were already indie darlings at this point in their careers, and Jude Law was cast as a relative unknown, having only been in a couple small independent movies, primarily in the UK, up to this point. And the movie was shot all around California, with Frank Lloyd Wright's Marin County Civic Center standing in for the roof and a few interior shots of the Gattaca complex. There's also the CLA building at California State Polytechnic University, and these two massive arches seen here are actually the spillway of the Sepulveda Dam in Los Angeles. As far as behind the scenes stories go, Ethan Hawke and Jude Law would do their rehearsals on set as often as they could, really trying to make their apartment set feel real and lived in. But also in 2020, producer Stacey Sher told a great story about how the production needed a wave pool for the chicken sequence, and someone told them that if they put a forklift into an Olympic-sized swimming pool, they'd be able to use that to make waves that looked realistic. But it turns out that forklifts don't actually work underwater, which the crew only discovered after trying out this hack. So to create the waves that we see in the movie, Sher and every other able-bodied crew member got onto their stomachs with kickboards and made the waves the old-fashioned way. And before the movie was released, the team thought it would be fun to place placed this fake ad for genetically designed babies around the country and were shocked when they received thousands of phone calls from people wanting to design their own babies. Legitimately hilarious and really sad at the same time. And on October 24th, 1997, Gattaca was released into theaters where it made just $4.3 million against its $36 million budget. It also placed 5th at the box office behind movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and The Devil's Advocate. Sadly, Gattaca would only go on to make a worldwide total of $12.5 million, making it a financial flop. However, while audiences didn't quite flock to the movie in theaters, thanks to strong critical reviews from critics like Siskel and Ebert and the home video market, Gattaca would slowly build a legacy as a cult classic. But more on that in just a bit. For now, I think it's time we dive into Gattaca and what stuck out to me as a first-time viewer.
Beautiful piece of equipment there, Jerome. Have I ever told you that?
Only every time I'm in here.
There are a lot of things that stuck out to me about this movie: the screenplay, the cinematography, the score, and sound design, and of course, the incredible performances. So I did go into this movie completely blind. I didn't even watch a trailer for the movie. Quite literally, all I knew about it was that it centered around genetics and starred Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, and Jude Law. And with that being said, I am going to spoil the movie moving forward, so if you're like me and are 25 plus years late to seeing Gattaca, I recommend pausing this video here and coming back once you've seen the movie. Now, the world of Gattaca is set in the quote not too distant future and is a world where genetic testing and design has become the main framework of civilization. And we watch as Ethan Hawke's character Vincent uses every possible tool at his disposal to overcome his genetic inferiority and achieve his dream of becoming an astronaut. And the screenplay, penned by Niccol, is just excellent from start to finish. Every beat it sets up is perfectly paid off as the movie continues. I specifically love the way that the movie opens by showing us Vincent's full routine and what his day looks like, from scrubbing himself down to the finger prick to the way he cleans his station and then dumps skin flakes into his keyboard, all without any exposition. It allows us the opportunity to come into this world and experience it first without having any sort of preconceived notions, and I love the way the exposition begins as soon as the body of the mission director is found. And the flashback sequence that follows is an excellent bit of storytelling backed up by Ethan Hawke's excellent voiceover. We learn about how he lived in the shadow of his brother, how they would play chicken, the day that made Vincent realize he was more than what his genetics said, how he ended up at Gattaca, and finally we learn how he and Jerome met and his transformation process into becoming a new version of Jerome. Also, fun fact, this picture is actually not Jude Law or Ethan Hawke, but a composite of both of their faces, which I think is just a really excellent little touch. Now, let's talk Sławomir Idzak's cinematography, because this movie looks incredible. From the smoky noir-lit sequences in the club and restaurant to the shots of young Vincent and Anton playing chicken, and the cinematography not only looks beautiful in this movie, but it helps tell the story. When the frame has a yellow tint to it, we're exploring Vincent's past, who he was and who he was born as. When it has a blue tint to it, it's there to represent both Vincent's idyllic future as an astronaut and the fact that superior genetics are required to make that happen. And then, of course, there's green, the color we get when we mix yellow and blue together. The green tint is there to represent moments of great change and who Vincent is now in this moment. We see it in the control room at Gattaca, we see it when he and Irene are falling in love, and my favorite green moment of the movie is here when Vincent punches out the FBI agent. I think it's also incredibly obvious that the green coloring throughout this movie is a nod to Hitchcock's Vertigo, which of course is another movie about both paranoia and identity. There's also this moment of Vincent working out and the room is green, but we see the spine of his celestial navigation textbook is a brilliant blue that almost sparkles with possibility. There's also just a lot of incredible shot compositions in this movie, like this image of Vincent on the floor recovering from lengthening his legs while Jerome watches from his wheelchair is one that really stood out to me. Also, the use of the wide-angle fisheye lens as the murder weapon keyboard is put into an evidence bag is another little moment that stood out to me, and it also reminded me of Terry Gilliam specifically. There's also this moment where Vincent and Jerome go out to the club and Vincent blows smoke into his glass to illustrate what the environment on Titan is actually like. And also this shot of Jerome smoking in the window. Okay, I'm seriously starting to turn into the Leo pointing meme. We really gotta move on. As far as the score and sound design of this movie goes, I think that the score done by Michael Nyman perfectly captures the slow-moving noir world of Gattaca. It feels very tragic, yet romantic, and honestly, it feels very old Hollywood to me. Like, you could tell me the score was from a late 50s era noir, and I'd fully believe you. I also think this movie has incredible sound design, from the pricking of the needle at the turnstile to the sounds of the vacuums working to capture every bit of DNA that they can. But my favorite bit is that all of the cars in this movie are very old. Gattaca obviously has a very retro future style to it, but it's the fact that all of these old cars have been converted to have electric engines instead of running on gas. It's a very simple little bit of sound design, but I think it does a lot to really make this world feel real and lived in. As far as the performances in Gattaca go, I'm going to start with my favorite minor characters and we'll work our way up to the 3 stars. First, my 2 favorite Gattaca employees are Ernest Borgnine, who never explicitly admits to knowing that Vincent is a quote borrowed ladder, but we get these nice little moments in the beginning of them working together, and then later on when we see him trying to cover for Vincent by taking his cup and trying to dispose of his trash before the feds can get to it. There's also the company doctor, played by Xander Berkeley, who also seems to know that Vincent is a borrowed ladder, but never says it outright until the end of the movie. And his final line of the movie really is just the most subtle way to reveal that he's known the entire time.
You don't miss your flight, Vincent.
There's also, of course, the always wonderful Alan Arkin as Detective Hugo. And I love that he's the only person who actually seems concerned with solving the crime of the murdered mission director, and that he's the only one who's really concerned by the eyelash they found belonging to an invalid. And I don't know, he's Alan Arkin. He's just endlessly charming and fun to watch on screen. There's also Lauren Dean as Anton, Vincent's younger and genetically superior brother. And I really like how Dean plays Anton. He's very sure of himself, but also incredibly self-conscious. He and Arkin's character have a great back and forth because Anton technically outranks him, but obviously Detective Hugo is older and more experienced. He's the one that suggests they continue following the trail of the invalid eyelash that they found, and Anton just kind of goes along with it. But once Anton is convinced that the invalid in question is actually Vincent, his performance takes a huge step up. Like, I really love the look on his face when Vincent is first identified. It's pure shock and awe. Then, of course, there's the way he calls out to Vincent down the alleyway that just reeks of desperation, both a professional desperation, but also a personal one. He has no idea whatever happened to his brother, and now he seems to be chasing him. But obviously, Dean's standout moment as Anton is when he and Vincent finally confront each other and have their final game of chicken that sees Anton nearly drowning before being saved by Vincent.
This is how I did it, Anton. I never saved anything for the swim back.
As for our 3 leads, I mean, Uma Thurman as Irene is just absolutely flawless. Much like Vincent, her character suffers from a high risk of heart failure, and you can tell that she is embarrassed by that fact and feels it makes her lesser than her peers, which is why I find her arc so fascinating. Early on, she is suspicious that Jerome may not be all that he seems to be, and that her clue is the fact that he looks up and watches every single launch done at Gattaca. He's just too excited by this world and this life. Which I think makes it not so surprising when she finally does steal a strand of his hair and takes it to a genetic testing clinic to get a complete workup of his genetic makeup. But what she doesn't know is that the hair she took doesn't belong to Jerome, at least not the Jerome that she knows. Anyway, Vincent and Irene also begin to fall in love, and obviously these two have incredible chemistry, which isn't so surprising considering they got married just a year after the release of Gattaca. But for me, her clear high mark in the movie is when she takes Anton to Jerome's house near the end of the movie. She's more or less figured out that Jerome isn't quite who he says he is, and subtly warns him that the feds are there looking for him. Unfortunately, Anton clocks her immediately and asks her to take him to Jerome's house. And the look on her face when they open the door and they see Jude Law, not Ethan Hawke, sitting in the chair is priceless. It's the perfect balance of I had no idea to expect this, and this is exactly what I was expecting. And I love how she tries to hide her discomfort when kissing and holding hands with Jerome. It's an absolutely fantastic piece of acting. And speaking of Jude Law, goddamn, he is just incredible in this movie. And you see why he became a movie star almost immediately after this. I mean, The Talented Mr. Ripley is just a little over 2 years after Gattaca's release, and I think that this movie was a big part of Hollywood taking notice of him as an actor. I mean, from the first moment he shows up on screen, you're kind of entranced by him. He's sitting in his wheelchair smoking while Vincent and Monk talk about him and his accident as if he he's not even there in the room with them. And I love how much anger he clearly has towards Vincent in these early scenes. Angry that he has to do this, angry that Vincent is cocky enough to think he can pull it off, and just angry at himself and the position he's found himself in. Though I do think he warms up to Vincent pretty quickly, especially once he agrees to have his legs extended, really showcasing that he's as dedicated to making this work as humanly possible. There's also the bit of him just being a loud, obnoxious alcoholic. Like, him not having any clean piss for Vincent to use for his interview is fantastic. And like any good alcoholic, he is genuinely sorry over this, but he also doesn't do anything to change his behavior. There's also this fun moment when he gets to yell at Hank from Breaking Bad for questioning him being in a wheelchair. Like, he gets to pretend to be himself for just a second and goes into full dickhead mode to bully the cop away from him. It's this really interesting cross-section of him getting to feel like his old self, going into survival mode, and he's also feeling a bit of shame that he has to impersonate the man that's impersonating him. And I do think that Law and Hawke just have excellent chemistry together. You can tell that them doing rehearsals on their own on set really helped them get to a place of understanding their characters and the relationship that exists between them. Plus, when Jude Law has to climb the stairs without using his legs, I mean, come on, that's legit physical acting right there, and you fully buy his speed and motivation as he does it. It's like the most alive he's felt in years. As far as Ethan Hawke as Vincent is concerned, I mean, this is just an incredible performance. Vincent and Anton are two sides of the same coin, where Anton feels superior because of his genetics but knows he's not as smart or clever as he should be. Vincent feels superior because of all the things he can do with his inferior genetics, but obviously living a lie makes him feel inferior anyway. We also get these great moments of confidence with he and Jerome at the club. Again, the smoke in the glass is just a great moment in the movie, but then there's also he and Irene running from the club, where we see just how frightened he truly is. And I like that this is when he and Irene finally kiss for the first time. Actually, their sex scene is also a fantastic bit of cinematography as well, with their bed almost appearing to float over the crashing waves below. But to me, the real standout moment of their date is the morning after, when he wakes up and realizes just how much of Vincent's DNA he's left behind in Irene's bed. And we see him go down to the beach, grab a stone, and begin exfoliating. You see that the look on his face is just crushed, that this is what he has to do to live the life that he feels he deserves. And I love that the movie ends with him making it to space and feeling confident and finally free, because at this point, even if he were to be discovered, there's quite literally nothing anyone could do about it. So nearly 30 years later, what is the legacy of Gattaca? Well, I think it's considered to be an all-time great hard science fiction film. My wife actually told me that she had to watch this in her freshman biology class, which is crazy to me.
My wife!
But seriously, Gattaca may have underperformed upon release, but it's gone on to become an all-time science fiction classic. It may not be as well known as movies like Blade Runner or even Dark City, but it's still looked at fondly by fans of the genre. Actually, Ethan Hawke has said in interviews that he thinks this is the most underrated movie he's ever done, although, like a true actor, he does stretch the truth quite a bit, saying that the movie didn't get any positive reviews in the States, which is just provably false. Like I said, Siskel and Ebert, who in the 90s were the critics for American audiences, both gave Gattaca 2 thumbs up. And Andrew Niccol would go on to make several more movies focused on similar themes as Gattaca, movies like Simone and In Time. But let me know what you think in the comments. Is Gattaca an all-time great science fiction movie? Is it too slow for you? Would you ever be curious to see a sequel? If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. It truly means the world. And as always, a very special thank you to all of my supporters over on Patreon. You all truly make these videos possible. If you're curious about joining the Patreon, there's a link in the description below. Patrons get early, ad-free access to videos, access to an exclusive Discord server, and they get to help me choose what movies get covered on the channel. And before we go, just one final reminder that Born to Rant is a completely independent channel, and your support is what keeps us going. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We release new videos covering all of your childhood favorites every Thursday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.